from the Lakeside Newsroom of the Henrico Citizen, your hometown news source since 2001. This is the Henrico News Minute with publisher Tom Lapis.
Henrico County will help restore a historically black cemetery. The county school board has a meeting today. And the story of how two men helped 20 residents of an Eastern Henrico apartment complex avoid the eviction process, at least for now. That's all coming up on today's Henrico News Minute for Thursday, August 13th, 2020. Then it's brought to you today by the Steve Dowdy Insurance Agency with State Farm.
And now for the news.
Henrico County will contribute $25,000 to a local nonprofit organization to support its acquisition of the historic Woodland Cemetery in Eastern Henrico, and also will provide ongoing assistance in fundraising for grounds maintenance. The cemetery is located at 2300 Magnolia Road, just off I-64 near the Mechanicsville Turnpike interchange. It was established in 1916 for the interment of black residents during a time of strict segregation. It has an estimated 30,000 graves across its 29 acres. A number of prominent people such as tennis champion and civil rights activist Arthur Ashe Jr. and Reverend John Jasper, the founder of 6th Mount Zion Baptist Church in Richmond, are buried there. The nonprofit Evergreen Restoration Foundation recently purchased the property with plans to restore the grounds as a place of reverence and honor for those who are buried. During a press conference yesterday at the cemetery, Marvin Harris, the executive director of the Evergreen Foundation, thanked Henrico officials, donors, and the many volunteers who have worked to restore the area's black cemeteries. He credited a group of his classmates from Maggie L. Walker High School's class of 1967 with getting the effort started 5 years ago, with a focus on Maggie Walker's grave at nearby Evergreen Cemetery. Said Harris, quote, "We're going to get this under control. We're going to bring this back to where it used to be with the help of the county," end quote. You can read more about this topic on henricocitizen.com by clicking on Community. Earlier this month in Henrico County General District Court, 20 residents of the Glenwood Farms Apartments in Eastern Henrico showed up expecting to face unlawful detainer cases. That's the first step in the eviction process. But two men who they didn't know and who they didn't know would be there were determined not to let that happen, and they were successful. On henricocitizen.com today, we take a deep dive into the eviction process in Henrico and a look at last week's surprising outcome for these residents. You can visit henricocitizen.com and click on Community to read the story. 2 employees of Verina High School have tested positive for COVID-19 this week, prompting the school to close through Monday. The first positive test result was reported to school officials August 11th, and the second from an employee who had close contact with the first employee was reported yesterday. In both cases, the employees began to self-quarantine as precaution prior to receiving their test results, according to school system officials. The school will reopen for appointments and other school-related business on Tuesday, August 18th, and will be thoroughly cleaned between now and then. The Henrico County School Board will host a work session beginning at 1 o'clock today. We'll have full coverage of it during the day. You can follow us on Twitter at henricocitizen.com and look for our article recapping the meeting later tonight. On the board's agenda, a number of revisions to policy, including one that would clarify that while the school board has the authority to name schools, it is the school leadership at each individual school that has the power to set mascots and school colors, among other items. That issue came to light recently as Freeman High School weighed the possibility of eliminating its Rebels nickname, which it ultimately decided to do. School officials also will present the 2020-2021 instructional plan to the school board today, and board members will hear an update about the school reopening budget. You can watch the work session by visiting henricoschools.us. Henrico County Public Schools yesterday posted some sample schedules for what virtual learning will look like for elementary, middle, and high school students. Today, elementary school principals will send out master schedules to parents. That's a schedule that applies to the entire school. Elementary school teacher assignments will come out next week. Middle and high school principals will send their master schedules on August 28th. For now, the sample schedules show time spent in teacher-led activities, independent learning, and in breaks. School officials have promised that the virtual learning starting September 8th will be more defined and consistent than the virtual learning in the spring was. The sample schedule for kindergarten through second grade students begins at 8 a.m. and ends by 12:35 p.m. It starts with a 20-minute morning meeting and ends with a 5-minute afternoon meeting for a social-emotional closing lesson. Third through fifth grade students would follow the layout of the schedule for kindergarten through second grade with slightly longer periods. The school day would end for them by 1:05 p.m. The middle school sample schedule shows the day beginning at 8 a.m. and ending at 3 p.m. It would begin with a 30-minute homeroom period and end with a 15-minute period of instructional support. Students would have 5-minute breaks between 4 periods of an hour and 15 minutes each, except for the 2 periods separated by a 30-minute lunch. At the high school level, the sample schedule begins at 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. for students in early bird classes and would end by 3:55 p.m. Class periods are an hour and a half, except for the hour-long first period, and there are 10-minute breaks in between. You can read more about this at henricocitizen.com by clicking on Education. Only 20 new COVID-19 cases were reported yesterday in Henrico County. That's the lowest total in a one-day span in more than 2 weeks. No new deaths were attributed to the virus, but 8 new hospitalizations were in the latest update provided by the Virginia Department of Health. The county's 7-day positivity percentage also rose slightly to 7.6%. As of August 8th, that's the most recent day for which that information is available. A total of nearly 65,000 PCR tests now have been conducted on Henrico residents, and about 6.1% of them have come back positive. Self-proclaimed Ku Klux Klan leader Harry Rogers was sentenced to 6 years in jail in connection with a June 7th incident during which he drove his truck into a group of protesters marching in support of social justice in Lakeside. The Henrico judge convicted Rogers of 6 misdemeanors, including assault, hit and run, and destruction of property in Henrico General District Court. Rogers still faces 3 other felony counts of attempted malicious wounding. Henrico Commonwealth's attorney Shannon Taylor had sought to have Rogers punished for hate crimes, but the judge did not apply those punishments on top of the 4 assault charges of which he convicted Rogers. He ruled that Rogers did not intentionally select the victims, who were white, because of their race, denying Taylor's claim that he had done so because the victims were supporting blacks. 2 years ago, the maternal mortality rate was more than 2.5 times higher for black mothers, 2.3 times higher for Hispanic black mothers, and twice as high for Native American mothers when compared to the levels for white mothers. Yesterday afternoon, U.S. Senator Tim Kaine and Virginia State Senator Jennifer McClellan were joined by teachers and medical professionals from the Richmond area for a discussion online about racial inequality within maternal health. Kaine and Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska recently introduced a bill called the Mothers and Newborn Success Act, which is intended to address the disparities in maternal health by improving access to maternal care in disadvantaged communities, increasing access to telehealth, establishing a public and healthcare provider awareness campaign for maternal health warning signs, and the importance of vaccinations for mothers and children, among other goals. He's hopeful that the bill will enjoy bipartisan support. You can read more about yesterday's online conversation on henricocitizen.com by clicking on Government. A Henrico woman is missing, and Henrico police are seeking the public's help to find her. Claudia E. Boudou was reported missing August 6th by her family. She is a white female, 5'6", 220 pounds. She has brown eyes and blonde hair. She is known to operate a 2014 Honda Cross Tour with Virginia license 399OUA. She left her medications behind, and there is a concern that she may need medical assistance. You can see a picture of her on henricocitizen.com by clicking Public Safety. Today's Henrico News Minute has been brought to you by the Steve Dowdy Insurance Agency with State Farm. You can save up to 30% with Drive Safe and Save. Contact Steve Dowdy today at 788-9022 to learn more.